Hello, everyone. Welcome to another session of WiT Ignite. We are doing a Spark series today. And this is one of the last sessions that we are doing before we go live with our career fair tomorrow. So, all those who have joined in, I hope you've registered for our career fair, which is tomorrow. For today's session, I have the privilege to have Anurag with me. Anurag is the Chief Product Officer and part of the executive management at Jubilant FoodWorks. He is responsible for leading its digital e-commerce and innovation charter, and driving Jubilant's transformation into a new age food tech company. JFL operates the Domino's Pizza and many other brands in India and Southeast Asia, as you may know. Over the last 15 years, Anurag has been a part of the leadership teams across tech businesses and global brands such as OLX, Microsoft, and Nokia. During this time, he has built and scaled global platforms for education, health, food delivery, mobility, used goods, and successfully driven growth, sales, and profitability charters. So, really privileged to have Anurag, whom I would like to welcome now to share his views with all of you.
Good
Hi,
afternoon,
Anurag. Good
Pratik.
afternoon.
Good afternoon, Pratik. Good afternoon to the entire audience, and thanks for the kind introduction and for having me.
Great, thank you, Anurag, and real honor, real pleasure for you to kind of take out time and be with us here. We've I know the session which we are talking about today is about tech disruption, and I think this year has been the most remarkable in terms of how fast we have grown in terms of technology adoption. I recently I was reading an article that you shared on LinkedIn as well around the same. But before we go into depths of those, I would like to kind of delve into what exactly has been your inspiration. I read somewhere that a line which you have written for yourself, which is solve humanity's biggest problems related to food, education, healthcare, livelihood, and mobility. Now, that's very, I would say, ambitious as an inspirational statement should be. But how did you really arrive at that? Like, how have you gone about in your career? Was this something that kind of motivated you right from the beginning, or it just things started to happen and then eventually you are where you are?
Yeah, no, Pratik, I think you're spot on in terms of the kind of problems that you mentioned, and millions of people in our country experience them every day when it comes to access to food, access to affordable and quality healthcare, access to education, high quality education, access to opportunities. Um, and the other ones are obviously in terms of the opportunities for people to be able to get this in terms of quality, affordability, and ease, right? And this is not just true in terms of for India, but it's actually a problem. If you zoom out, it impacts hundreds of million people across the globe, right? Africa, Latin America, Middle East, South Asia, and so on.
Yeah, yeah,
So these are burning global problems, right? And this desire of solving these problems, is not a overnight realization. It's been a journey for me, right? A journey of evolution for myself, a journey of introspection, a journey of gaining experience of working with a lot of different organizations, some of them absolutely reputable brands, uh, and understanding what excites me, what's the purpose that drives me, and hence what is it that I want to do now or in the future. So if I may delve into a little bit more details about my journey, uh, you know back in 2000 I moved to the US, and I went there to study, and then I worked there for a couple of years building some
mm,
really cool futuristic technologies. And it was a lot of fun. At that point in time, I was applying machine learning, AI, computer vision, which are now much more popular technologies than they were back in the day. Uh, but I also realized,
yeah,
while it was very cool, the mass impact of it was not there, at least in terms of immediate impact, right? And what I learned about myself at that stage, after having done this for a couple of years, was I really, really wanted to build consumer products and build them at scale, right? And so, given that, and my desire to do all of this, and where would the right opportunities be? I decided to move back to India. Right, I
Mm-hmm.
felt that's where there was a bigger canvas that I would get to paint for myself. And so I did a 1 year MBA. And I think at the fag end of 2009, coincidentally, I actually got the opportunity to work with Nokia and build maps for them for India and South Asia. To work for a brand as Nokia back in the day, it was still the number one mobile OEM, right? Which had a product that used to go into the hands of hundreds of millions of people, a device that they could use and they would use every day. And in a market as big as India, it was like a dream come true. And when I look back, and this was coincidental, by the way, right? But when I look back, I think that was really the turning point of my career, and also for me to realize what is it that I wanted to do. So I did that for a couple of years, and post that, all my decisions have been more by design in terms of my career growth, in terms of opportunities and what I wanted to do. So from there on, I moved to Microsoft, where for a year I kind of worked and built a health application that got bundled with Windows OS, that then got shipped out on a billion machines. And that's where I had my first touch with healthcare per se. After doing that, I got the opportunity to work with InfoEdge. That's one company I truly respect, and it's the parent company for Naukri, Jeevan Sathi, 910 Acres, and
Okay.
Siksha, as we know them today.
Mm-hmm.
And I worked with the
Mm-hmm.
education business, helped kind of set that up and build the platform for helping millions of students make the right college and career decisions. And then after doing that for a couple of years, I got the opportunity to work with OLX, which again kind of resonated with me because to help millions of buyers, sellers, small businesses, and communities from a livelihood perspective, access to goods that otherwise they would have not been able to afford, and also from a standpoint of reducing the carbon footprint and for a more sustainable planet. It got me excited. So if you loosely connect the dots, kind of
Yeah.
move from mobility to healthcare to education, livelihood, and now at JFL, I've started the food part of my journey. Uh, so yeah, so from an impact standpoint, about it, it's still early days for me. I don't want to sound cliched, but frankly, I'm still scratching the surface, and so there's still a long way to go. But I think it's going to be a
I'm
very
sure.
exciting journey to undertake over the next 20, 30 years. So let's see.
I'm sure. I'm sure, great. And you kind of, there was a common thread across when you were mentioning all these stories, which is that you've always kind of, at any given point in time, right from college till now, you've kind of worked on whatever at that time was cutting edge in terms of technology. And in the last 4 or 5 months, we've been going around, with various clients working around problems of diversity. And when we first interacted with you and Jubilant, we kind of, I personally got introduced to the term called food tech for the first time. Right. I mean, we've talked about fintech, we've talked about mobility related tech, but food tech was something which was new to me. It has definitely accelerated this year with a lot of I would say restaurants shutting down and the home delivery and things like that going up. But I wanted to understand, like, as someone who is kind of defining the vision for Jubilant and Domino's, what really would you like to be known as? Like, what is it? Are you really I would say a food delivery company? Are you a restaurant chain? Are you a food tech? Like, what is it that you really want to be known as?
Yeah, it's a question that I get asked often, and I would say the answer is probably all of that and more. But on a more serious note, I think what's really great about Jubilant FoodWorks is that we're continuously reinventing ourselves, right, and making the necessary transitions to stay ahead and to continue to serve our customers in a way that they get the best food and delivery experience, right? So today we are one of the biggest food service companies in this country, and for that matter, in South Asia. Uh, we
Mm-hmm.
are one of the most loved global food brands in terms of Domino's, and to be running it in this country and being quite successful, it takes a lot of years of hard work and dedication and commitment towards the customers to get there. This success has not been easy to come, but it's come with, as I said, right, a lot of work that's gone in the direction of building the right capabilities. And one such capability has been technology. We really looked at technology in the early years as an enabler for us. And now we're almost looking at it as that's really the future for us. When we look at digital, we look at technology, we look at data science, we look at user experience design. It really is what's going to really help us deliver the best consumer experience to our customers, because that's what they want, right? And internally as well, technology within the organization, across different parts of organization, whether you talk about HR, you talk about supply chain, you talk about operations, we've truly embraced it, because in terms of productivity improvements, in terms of large scale innovation, in terms of impacting the key metrics, technology goes a long way and enables us to do what we want to do. So if you look back, during the last 3 years, we made significant investments in digital, both in terms of building the right necessary capabilities and technology, but equally and more importantly, people, right? And some of the implications of that is today, for example, we are one of the top 3 rated apps in the food and drinks category on both the Google Play Store and the Apple Play Store.
Oh.
We have a fairly good rating. We have upwards of 6 million monthly active users on our digital platforms, and that's growing. That's growing significantly month on month. On the other side, we're also saying, from the future standpoint, what are some of the other channels for which consumers would like to interact with us? What are the consumer trends? And to that extent, we built, innovative channels as well for ourselves, right? So we have Alexa skill for ordering already, right? We partner with the leading aggregators so that we make sure that people and our customers can reach us through various digital channels. We've also partnered with all kind of payment partners to ensure that if people are embracing fintech and they're looking at easier ways to transact, we give them those opportunities to interact with us. So it's been a very exciting journey for us. But I think, and that's what I tell everyone, the future is even more exciting. COVID in some ways has really accelerated that journey. And even during the pandemic, the one area that we were focusing on and building was the digital and technology strength. So we continue to build a very scalable platform. We want it to be a very future-ready platform for our customers, and not just for Domino's, by the way, right? When we look at some of other brands, which is Dunkin' Donuts, Biryanis of India, Hom's Kitchen, we are totally committed to them being a digital-first, technology-led brand, right? So that's where we are, and that said, we truly feel we are on a path to transitioning into what would be a very solid food tech company in years to come.
Yeah. I mean, see, I think it will be criminal if I don't ask you more about the technology, which is what we are here for. But I kind of interestingly put 2 things which I was thinking of about to ask you, which is actually tech and people, the 2 investments which you've mentioned that you've kind of done into all your brands, and those 2 kind of really go at the root of I would say solving any business problem or any scale that you would like to achieve in your product. So touching the tech part first, I mean, I would like to delve a bit deeper in terms of trying to understand how tech has been, I would say, more important. Which parts of tech? You mentioned that your app is very highly rated. Your I would say most of your orders are coming from probably a mobile device right now, otherwise, and probably I don't know, six years earlier when they were probably calling up Domino's on a helpline and then kind of ordering a pizza. So we have seen that evolution. I think things are obviously have gone much faster here, but specifically in terms of what are the different things in terms of technology that you are doing to keep pace with how fast the world is changing around you and to keep that tag of a food tech company up there. What exactly have you done? I would like to know a little bit more about that.
Yeah, sure. So, to be honest, you first need to really have a culture and a framework and some key pillars that you focus on. And I'll talk a little bit about that later on. But, the reality of the matter, Pratik, is the fact that we always believed, right, as a company, as the executive leadership, as a board, that the future is going to be digital and technology led. And as I said earlier, we have invested towards it over the last few years. This is not something that suddenly we started doing a year back or because of COVID.
Correct.
We've continuously been at it because we said if we need to have sustainable competitive advantage, if we want to deliver the best consumer experiences, we have to be a little bit ahead of the curve. We have to be totally in line and in sync with what consumer behavior is, right? And that's really what's helped us, even during the pandemic, to keep our business running the way it's run, to ensure that the online delivery business is running smoothly without any challenges, making up for the lack of dine-in customers that are coming in. It's only happened because we invested in a couple of things. So let me tell you a little bit about that. One is in terms of building the right infrastructure for us to really scale and to take a lot of our business through various online platforms, whether it be in terms of our own digital assets, whether it be in terms of through aggregators or through other platforms. Yeah. Second is to make sure that we build the right technology so that we can scale. The performance is great. We don't have downtime, we don't have outages, and we continuously make sure that our consumers are coming in, ordering quickly, and getting out, right? So that at the end of the day, they're there to discover food, order food, and then gets delivered to them and they can enjoy it, right? And so at the back end, we've been working on all of that. On the front end, which is basically the consumer experience, right? We've invested a lot in building the right consumer experiences on our apps and on our PWA or the mobile side. There's still ongoing work. I mean, this is a theme that we work on 12 months of the year, 365 days of the year, right? And the key over here is to say that we look at data, we speak to a lot of our consumers and understand what are still some of the things that they struggle with. Where are they kind of facing some friction on the platform? And so our capability to look at that data, to track it, to look at it, and to reap insights that lead to then product decisions has been a capability that we've been really working on and building it. And that's what kind of helps us to continuously improve the experience. The rating, the feedback we get is a reflection of that we're continuously at it, and we're building the right capabilities. So these are the enablers. Data, as I said, user experience and design, the infrastructure investment, the technology behind it, making sure we have the most equipped tech stack, and all of this together. When it comes to it seems like we are in the right place. There's still work to do, right? Because technology keeps changing.
Yeah.
But behind the scenes, there are four key pillars that we've really invested in, right? So one is having the right vision and strategy, which is product and technology. The second, as I said, is key capabilities and teams. We truly believe our people are the core strength that we have, and to make sure that we're continuously investing in them and giving them the culture and the environment to make it succeed. And then third part, I spoke about is the culture, right? Making sure we're very customer centric, data focused. We're taking the right decisions. We're agile. We're moving fast, and learning with mistakes that we make. And the last is the processes. Having an agile process, working with a responsible product development framework, adopting the latest scalable ways of working and making them work for ourselves. So that's really been, in some ways, the recipe that we've kind of worked on for ourselves, and it's helped us get to where we are, and we'll continuously keep changing it as needed to keep moving forward.
Very aptly put. Thank you for delving into that. And I think we have some comments coming in from audience. I would just like to highlight that if there is anything you would like to ask, you can put in the comments. So Ankit here asked that you transitioned from Nokia to Domino's. I would not be as brutal in putting it failing miserably, but yeah, Nokia probably wasn't at the top of its tech game when they had to be, to a Domino's, which obviously wants you to be extremely fast paced, nimble, and adapt to technology very early. What would you do differently? What are you doing differently probably right now at Domino's, which you kind of would have probably in hindsight done better at Nokia?
Yeah, it's a tough question, but you always take learnings from what happened in the past and what could you have done to avoid that situation. But what I would say is being in touch with consumers. Really understanding the consumer behavior, really understanding that when they interact with you, when they work with you, what is it that they like, what is it that they do not like. I think being on top of that is extremely important. So that's one piece that we truly in every part of the organization focus on. Understanding our customers. We track NPS, which is the Net Promoter Score, right? On a daily basis, weekly, monthly basis. We look at them in all our executive leadership meetings, and we see what are we doing, is it continuously going up, and if for whatever reason anything goes down, then we truly go back to the root cause to understand, what's the reason for that. And we're extremely agile in fixing it. So one is, as I said, being on top of a game when it comes to customers and understanding them. The second is really looking at data. I think data tells us a lot of things, and to be able to get our access to that kind of data, understand our customers, their behavior on the platforms, really tells us a story, right, and gives us opportunities to either optimize or innovate. So that's absolutely important. And I would say the third piece is us as an organization. We are very humble. We are very grounded. We still feel we have a very, very long way to go. It's still a very long journey. We're not banking on our laurels or our successes. I think with every passing day, they're thinking about the past, right? It's about forward looking. And I think to that extent, we are very, very aware of the fact that disruption because of technology happens at a very fast pace. So if we are resting on our past laurels and not looking forward and not planning for the future, we will get surprised, right? And we want to be the ones to surprise if possible. So that's some of the learnings we've had or
I
I've
know,
had. And
you have been a disruptor, Anurag. I think that way is just the fact that 30 minutes of free was a bold statement to make for a pizza delivery, right? Considering a country like India, so I think it's always been the case where you kind of go out of the league, just make a that was a great claim to make, and kind of delivered it as well. So, and I'm sure it still is kind of referred fondly in a lot of ways, and a lot of people try to imbibe that as well. So I think from that point of view, you have been bold. Past laurels are great, but as you rightly mentioned, you have to keep changing. I would just like to shift the focus a little bit towards the event that we're doing right now, which is the career fair, which Jubilant is a part of. We are trying to, I would say, in some ways, trying to address the gap which is there in the employment rates of women and men, but and more so in tech, but as a leader of a company that I would say rests on tech for most of its delivery, for most of its end execution. How do you as a leader individually view diversity? And also I would say, if you would like to answer, you can also say that on behalf of Jubilant, because you are representing them. But do you feel there is a business case? Do you feel it's something that is required to do? We are still far behind it. Any disruption that comes in, or I would say anything that comes that is other than normal, something like this pandemic kind of affects women more than men in some way or the other. So what is your take on that, and how do you view, I would say, diversity and participation of women in workforce, especially in tech?
no, thanks for the question, Pratik. And it's a subject that's very close to my heart, as a lot of my colleagues and ex-colleagues know. Uh, I think the business case, there are enough studies done by the likes of Harvard and McKinsey's and what have you, which show very, very clearly that diversity in teams leads to better positive impact on business outcomes. There are no two ways about it, right? And diversity, I would just not restrict it to gender here. I would also say, in terms of age, in terms of industry experience, in terms of nationality, race, what have you, right? So it's an absolute strength, because the diversity of ideas, given your background, given where you're coming from, the experiences you've had, the way you think, the way you behave, really leads to a much better, a much superior discussion, which then leads to looking at things holistically and taking the right decisions. So in my mind, it's an absolute no-brainer that diversity is critical at every part and every level of the organization. Unfortunately, the reality is, across the world, we're still thinking about this, we're still talking about it, and not doing enough. And that's the harsh reality, and more so in tech, as you correctly pointed out. So I strongly believe that empowering and providing equal opportunities to women, and also encouraging and giving them the right environment. One is obviously you get them on board, but the second is you should give them the right environment for them to succeed, right? Is absolutely necessary. It is upon us as leaders and as some of the leading organizations to make sure that we happen. And I can tell you from a Jubilant lens, we are absolutely serious about it on a very regular basis, this is something that we discuss as a very big initiative for us. And we're taking steps as we speak in terms of making sure that we live up to our commitment to ourselves on this. Just to share as an example, just 2 weeks back, a very, very senior executive in the product management organization joined, and she's a lady who comes with remarkable experience, right? And we're so happy to have her. And the point is, she doesn't come with an engineering degree, right? So if you look at product management, people say, hey, you've got to have an engineering degree, especially when you're working on technology products. And I would say, really, is that really necessary? Not, right? So, as I said, right, it's extremely important, and to that extent, not only do we bring them on board, but we should also give them the right culture. And at JFL, there are certain things that we truly believe in. One is making sure it's extremely high paced, it's entrepreneurial. We have young and passionate people working across the length and breadth of this country, so we want to make sure we give them the right environment, let them have fun, enjoy, but also be energy to the table for us and for our customers. And we want to give them opportunities to do new things every day. So as I said, right, diversity in terms of everything is extremely important to us, and we want to give them the environment to thrive on that. And collaboration is extremely key. So we strongly believe in that as one of our core values, not being hierarchical. And lastly, I would say the empowerment. You bring in people, give them the right culture, but then you also need to empower them to make the right decisions, right? So these are things that we're focusing on, but I truly think that diversity is actually a competitive advantage for most companies when they get it right.
I'm sure, and we, I mean, we are working hard to kind of make that difference across organizations. You rightly put, you are doing, I'm sure you are doing enough within your organization to retain the existing talent that you have. I know we're about to close the session, but before we close, I would just like to ask you for any message for aspirants who would like to work in a food tech company like Jubilant, in terms of what are the skills that you're looking at. Are there specific technologies on which you especially want women to focus, who would I would say, as a future employer, as an aspirational employer, would like to join you? There are lots of things which you're working on around data, around artificial intelligence, but is there specifics where you would encourage women to kind of apply to Jubilant and take their career forward, as a last message to them?
Yeah, I see it as two parts, right? One is the technology skills, right? Especially, when you're getting into a food tech organization, or for that matter, any tech organization. And I would just say that, the world is increasingly moving towards using data to make the right decisions. So understanding data, getting your hands a little bit dirty, using it to make your decisions, I think that's a necessary skill for everyone to build, right? The second one, which I strongly believe is in terms of AI. I think, and it's kind of interrelated to some extent, but the future is going to be a lot of innovation coming in terms of looking at AI solutions, machine learning models. The only key is to know when to use it and when not to use it, just not to use a blanket approach of putting AI out there. So if you understand AI, then you also know when not to use AI. I think that's important. And just maybe the last part is understanding consumers. I think for any business to thrive in and to know what technology to use, you need to understand what problem you're trying to solve for consumers or for the business. So I think that's really key. But the more important part, and I increasingly feel this, and if you look at the World Economic Forum's job report for the future, it says of the top 20 skills, there are more number of skills which is around soft skills, right? So the ability to collaborate, the ability to work effectively with teams, the ability to communicate, the ability to necessarily go out there and be able to negotiate and influence, right? The ability to be humble and continuously learn. These are absolutely critical skills, right? And I think more and more these skills will become relevant for us in the future.
Yeah.
And in some ways, I would always say that women, for that matter, almost have an advantage over us men when it comes to some of these skills. And even for some of the other folks, right? So I think it's when I look into the future, I feel it's a great future. I'm very optimistic about it, and I think it's upon us as leaders and organizations to make sure that we bring the party to the table and let everyone have great opportunities for them to succeed.
Yeah, a slice of pizza for everyone, right, as a part of the future. So
Oh, absolutely.
thank you so much. Yeah, thank you so much, Anurag. I know we're over time. I know you have another meeting after this, which you mentioned earlier. So again, great to have you here, spending invaluable time with us, sharing your insights. We do look forward to having Jubilant on board tomorrow with us on the career fair, and hoping to make the most of the opportunity there. Thank you so much. We'll stay in touch and wish you the best for your products going forward.
Thank you. Thankfully, absolute delight to be on this forum. You guys are doing some great work, so be at it, and we'll always be cheering with you, obviously on the side, but also come to the party when needed. And all the best to
Sure.
everyone who's going to be part of the career fair.
Thank you so much, Anurag. Thank you.
Great, thanks.